All right, as soon as I can figure out our clicker. Okay, that'll work. Okay, hopefully you're all at the right talk. This is what's new with Tableau and SAP. We're excited you guys are here. This is actually a much better turnout than I was expecting. It's great that we got this many people to show up on a Friday afternoon, well after the data night out. Hopefully everybody had a good time. So I guess we will go ahead and start with some introductions. My name is Evan Rademacher. I've been with Tableau for 7 years now. I'm a dev on the connectivity team. In the past, I've created some new connectors, worked on connectivity architecture, and then I came to join this SAP-specific initiative about a year ago. And I figured, okay, I've worked with all sorts of different types of databases. I've worked with Hadoop systems, I've worked with normal relational stuff like SQL Server. How different could HANA be? And it was kind of a trial by fire, trying to get familiarized with the ecosystem and everything like that. So, full disclosure, neither of us would consider ourselves SAP experts. We rely on some other people at Tableau who have extensive SAP experience, and they've worked with us to figure out the best way to go about connecting to SAP data in its many different formats. So a little bit about ourselves on a personal level. This is me with my family. I have a little 1-year-old son that I like chasing around keeps me pretty busy. Don't have a whole lot of free time these days.
All right, hey guys, thank you so much for coming. I really hope that you can walk away with something you found useful. This is an honor to be able to be here to present to you guys. My name is Jay Dam. I'm on the connectivity. I'm also a developer, just like Evan. And I've been with connectivity team for about 1.5 years, where the past years mainly focus on the SAP features. So you guys are all here on a Friday afternoon in Las Vegas, and I figured you must really love SAP. And I certainly share that passion with you. I think the reason I chose to join the SAP feature team is because I like to know how a complicated system like that really works. The services inside of it, how they really collaborate. It's like dancing. That was me with my dance team in our spring show doing Juju on that beat. And I like dancing because it's also a work of collaboration. Your head, your toe, your finger, they got to collaborate together. It's just like how SAP collaborates with each other, also collaborate with Tableau.
Yeah, on a similar note, I like to listen to music a lot. And the better I got at playing guitar, the more I kind of gravitated toward heavily complex guitar-based music, until I got into something called progressive metal. Now this guy up here, his name is Tosin Abasi, and he, in my opinion, is one of the greatest guitarists currently alive. And this style of music is characterized by being complex for the sake of complexity. You might have weird time signature changes, tempo changes, long songs that don't always follow traditional structures. And I kind of related that to, thank you, to SAP. It seems like complexity for the sake of complexity. And this is an actual real diagram that one of our SAP consultants who helped us set up our test environment and kind of finalize our roadmap used to describe how some of these different components work together. How data comes from different sources, how it eventually winds its way up into HANA, how it's kind of organized. And trust me, this made a lot more sense at the time, being walked through step by step. But it is a complicated ecosystem. We're learning, and we're excited for you guys to learn with us.
Right. By the way, sorry, I realize it's kind of cutting off at times. Excuse us. Next one is our agenda. So we're gonna talk about some performance improvements. We are always trying to constantly improve our products to bring you better experience. And then we're gonna talk about the new features we just released. Then we'll move on to the future roadmap about something that we're planning on working on. And then at the end, we'll have tips and tricks and to share with you guys. And then we'll invite our panel sitting over there, come up with here to answer some of your questions.
Great. Before we get started, was anybody here able to attend the customer meetup yesterday? I see some familiar faces.
Right.
All right,
Nice.
welcome back, people.
Great.
Good to see you
guys.
here, and hopefully we'll be able to dive a little bit deeper into the Tableau features that we've rolled out in the past year.
Right. Now let's jump right into performance improvements.
Okay, so the first feature that we're going to be talking about is called the shared metadata cache, and this is a Tableau server feature. And what it enables you to do is, so normally Tableau keeps a metadata cache on a per user basis. One user logs in, we'll execute some discovery queries, we'll check for permissions, that kind of thing, and then we'll cache the queries that we've already sent. So with the shared metadata cache, we allow you to share the queries that we've already sent with other users who have similar credentials and settings. This is especially prevalent in SSO setups where you have a lot of different users who typically have the same general level of permissions. And we do make some assumptions. So this is, go ahead, thank you. This is off by default, and it requires an opt-in. It's not well documented because, go ahead Jay, thank you. Because this is still a somewhat experimental feature. It can save a lot of load on the HANA database by reducing the number of queries that we send. So you should talk to your account representative about how to get this set up. And we make certain assumptions that basically your user base is homogeneous, that everybody has the same, that you're not using real level security, that, yeah, basically that everybody more or less is going to see the same results for these metadata queries that we send, temp table permissions and that sort of thing. So if you think that this is right for you, please contact your account representative. They'll get you in touch with our team and we can get you set up.
Right. So next one I'm going to talk about is query parameter binding. It's released into 2018.3, so it's been there for a while. And what does this do is that before we had a query parameter binding, each time Tableau sends a query to HANA database, we'll compile the query, we'll deconstruct it on the HANA side, and then we'll execute it each single time. With query parameter binding, we are able to only compile it once and have it executed on HANA database many times. It is able to use the query engine on the HANA side to route queries much more efficiently in the HANA cluster, which in result has much better performance, faster queries, especially when we are working with parameters. And this feature is actually not HANA specific. It benefits quite a few connectors, and HANA is just one of them. And I figured you'd want to know that because it's so beneficial for HANA. So how to use it? Who knows about TDC file or has experience with TDC files? Okay, I see some hands. For the ones that you don't know about it, TDC file is basically this XML file that has a lot of flags that you can configure. You either set it to true or false and use that to tune ODBC connections. And this feature is behind a capability, which is one of the flags inside of the TDC file that you can set. You have to turn it on to be able to use it. It's off by default. I know that you might wonder why is it off by default if it's a performance improvement. So we do plan on turning it on hopefully pretty soon. So it's on by default.
Yeah, and the irony is not lost on us that the performance improvements that are that probably should be on by default or require some extra setup, and then the feature releases just kind of work.
Right, we'll work on that. And also a TDC file, just a reminder, it's pretty powerful and it's dangerous. So be careful about using it. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us.
Yeah, so again, ask your account representative. Occasionally we hand these TDC files out like candy. It just depends on your particular environment and your needs. We tend to customize more complex connectors like HANA more, which is why we mentioned that.
Right.
All right, thanks, Jay.
All right, let's move on to feature support. And these are the new features that are just released. So first one, let's talk about HDI container support. So it's a new feature that's released in 2019.3, and HDI containers if you're not familiar with it, it's HANA specific concept. If you are creating calculation views inside of SAP Web IDE, then you're gonna get these calculation views deployed into HDI containers. And that was not the same concept before when you create views inside of the HANA Studio. And now these views don't reside in SysBIC anymore. I think that's an assumption that was easy to make, before, when everything was created inside of HANA Studio, and all views will live in SysBIC. And now they live in this schema which has the same name as the qualified name of the container. So whatever the name you set, it's going to be that name. So if you look at the picture on the left side, it's a screenshot. It should just work. It should just work like how you connect to a normal HANA view, just like before. Parameters, variables, you can all set it up and publish to the server. It will jump out the same dialog and you can set them. And so basically you choose a schema. It does look pretty messy, and we do have plan to clean that up. Right now, a little tip is that you would want to choose the top one on the list without all the suffixes.
Yes, thank you. It's also worth mentioning that this is a HANA 2.0 feature. So if you're worrying about, if you're still on HANA 1.0, SP12, or whatever you may be on, you're still going to need to look in SysBIC for your tables and views.
All right. Let's move on.
All right, this is an exciting one for us. I'm going to start off with a demo. This is Level Hierarchies. This is a feature in HANA that categorizes data. Different dimensions can fit into different levels. A common scenario, and the one I'm going to use in my example here, is location. You might also have dates. So this is the HANA Web IDE, using HANA 2.0 here. And this is just a simple calc view that has a projection. And in the semantic layer, I have two hierarchies set up. Both of them have to do with location data. And they both have the first one I believe has 4 levels. Nope, just 3. Yes, 4. 5, final answer.
All right.
And I'm going to show you how to access this hierarchy data in Tableau. So I'm connected to my HANA instance. I'm going to go to my HDI container.
And again, you will want to choose the top one without all the suffixes.
Okay. Then I go to my worksheet. There it is.
There you go.
I did not have to replicate my existing hierarchies in HANA in Tableau. It's just there. It just works. And hopefully that's going to be the theme for the rest of our presentation.
It should just work.
It just works. And these behave the exact same way as user-defined hierarchies in Tableau. You can drill down, you can drill back up, and it's really as simple as that. So, thank you. Thank you very much. So, one important distinction between a normal user-defined hierarchy here is that there is a direct one-to-one link between what's on the HANA server and what's in Tableau. So that means if you go and change your data model in HANA, if you make changes to your hierarchy, if you add fields, if you rename it, when you refresh your Tableau workbook, that's going to also reflect those changes. And that means that you cannot make changes on the Tableau side because they're just going to be wiped away the next time you refresh the data. And we realize that some users might want more flexibility than that, so we did give you the option to unlink the hierarchy from HANA, and that's going to be in the context menu. I'm right-clicking on location here, and I go down to convert to user hierarchy. It'll give you a simple warning message saying that this cannot be undone. This is a one-way trip, so if you need to make changes on the Tableau side, make sure that that you're sure about it, because you will have to rebuild the connection if you want to undo that. And now I can make changes just like I normally would. I can drag off fields, I can rename it. You can do whatever you want. You can remove it altogether. And so let me see. Bear with me. Yes, so if you're going to take away one thing, this should just work. If you open up Tableau, it's important to note that we released this in Tableau 2019.4, which just came out, I believe, last week.
Right.
So if you're running the latest version, you should now be able to access your level hierarchy data.
All right, now let's talk about something that we're still working on that's in our future roadmap.
The fun stuff. All right. So table functions, also known as table UDFs or user-defined functions. These are the equivalent of stored procedures that are guaranteed to return a table as the result set. So in HANA, kind of like Oracle, a stored procedure can take in any number of parameters, it can output any number of parameters. They might be scalar, they might be a table. A table function behaves the same way as a stored procedure, except that it is guaranteed to return a table, and that's what Tableau likes. We like tables. So it used to be that you would have to create a calc view to access the data in your table functions. All we're doing now is we're giving you a way to access it directly. So what happens is Tableau will enumerate all of your table functions in the stored procedure pane, like you can see over here. And we'll populate a dialog that has all of the input parameters. These do have to be scalar. You can't, I don't even think HANA allows you to use a table as an input for a table function. But, and then we execute that on the initial connection. So in Tableau Desktop, that's when you open the workbook. On server, that's when your session starts and you initially connect to the viz. And we'll execute the table function and dump it directly into a temporary table. And then you can execute live queries against that temp table. And we'll clean it up when the session ends. Fairly straightforward. And once again, should just work. You'll see it in the stored procedure section. And that's that.
All right, S/4HANA, this is something we're very passionate about. So what is S/4HANA? It is the latest iteration of SAP's cloud ERP system. At the customer meetup yesterday, I heard some of you were transitioning into S/4HANA, so this is something you would want to know. So now we're planning to support S/4HANA connection through our OData connector. So it is extract only, just like the existing OData connector. But what is different is that we are now supporting more features. We're supporting schema browsing, which means that you can browse entities inside of the OData service endpoint on S4. And just like how you can browse the enumerated tables inside of the schema on the standard connector. And then we also support joins. You can join 2 or more S4 entities. So right now we only have a preview version that's already out. Only supports OData v4 and later, but we do plan to release our full version in 2020.2 that will support OData version 2 and later. So if you want to try it out, ask your account representative, please try it out, give us feedback, share your use case with us, and we'd love to support more.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that we would really love to be able to connect live to S/4HANA. And in fact, we're going to show you ways to do that in the tips and tricks section later. There are restrictions that we can't frankly get around that prevent us from doing that. Also, check with your SAP account rep to make sure that you have licensing privileges to get your data out of S/4HANA. I believe you need a full use license to access this data. So, thank you, Jay.
All right, thanks, Evan.
Parent-child hierarchies, this is a big one. So currently, Tableau really likes relational data. We expect the data to be in a nice tabular format. We like columns, we like rows. And parent-child hierarchies kind of turn that on its head. This is, so for those of you not familiar with what a parent-child hierarchy is, I know it's sometimes there's some confusion between this and level hierarchies, which are like the traditional hierarchies that Tableau already supports. So parent-child hierarchy, instead of having different dimensions representing different levels, you have a single dimension that has an arbitrary nesting structure to some other member of that dimension. So this could be organizational data, this could be financial data. It's a very, very powerful, flexible tool, and I know there were a lot of customers at the meetup yesterday using that. Quick show of hands, who here knows if you use parent-child hierarchies in your system? All right, that's a lot of hands, thank you. So this is a challenge for us, right? And we're in the very early planning stage. We want to make sure that we get this right. We want to make sure that the Tableau experience is as delightful as you can expect from Tableau. So We are experimenting with ways to answer hierarchy-specific questions, such as ancestry, such as depth in the hierarchy, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to take this opportunity to request some feedback. If you guys have something that you really want to analyze in Tableau that has to do with your parent-child hierarchies, we're going to throw up a few email addresses at the end. Please send your feedback to sapfeedback@tableau.com. Again, we're going to throw those up at the end. So yeah, we want your feedback.
Right, yeah,
currently,
please share your use case with us. So
currently we're in the prototype phase, so we have some UI mock-ups that I'm not able to share at this point yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
All right, we'll look forward to it.
All right, tips and tricks. So the idea here was to have some general advice that our field experts, our sales consultants, etc., tend to give to HANA customers to try to figure out how to do different things that may not be entirely straightforward. So one of our newer Tableau SAP experts is a guy named Gary McCracken, and he has been at he's been at SAP for 18 years, and he just recently came to Tableau. I poached some of his slides. He wasn't able to give them at the meetup yesterday. So this is going to talk about how to get your S4 HANA data into Tableau. So as Jay mentioned earlier, we have the OData connector, allows you to connect directly to S4, bring your data in. That's extract only. Like I mentioned before, make sure to check with your SAP account representative about license ramifications. You might need a full use license. Now, to get your BW data into HANA, we do have a BW connector, but we're not investing as heavily in BW as we are in HANA. So if you want to get your BW data into HANA, there's a handy diagram here that explains how to do that. And it basically involves creating a bunch of calc views that roll up your multidimensional data into a nice relational format that Tableau likes, and then you can leverage the power of HANA and its in-memory horsepower, get it into Tableau for your analytics. And similarly, you may be wondering how to get access to live S4 HANA data. Again, the name of the game is calc views. You might want to screenshot this. I believe we're going to have the recording available, the slides available to users later. So you can see here. And I wish Gary were here to explain this to us. Unfortunately, he had to catch an earlier flight. So I suppose we will move on. So I'd like to take this opportunity for a little bit of Q&A.